Now, it might not look it, but I've made a lot of progress.
This is in reference to where I used the Sweet Home application to lay out the garage and then actually laid out the garage in the way I laid it out in the Sweet Home application.
It may be a little bit hard to tell. And, well, while I'm out here, I'm usually listening to my little Yui Boom. It's the one, or maybe it's the two. I don't know. I got it years and years ago. But it's a little quiet, and I usually end up having to plug it in anyway because I either forget to charge it or I am out here for so long that it simply just needs a charge. But I've got these old speakers from my old sound system, which I would assume still work perfectly fine. As well as this from a previous project that I can't be bothered referencing because I don't want to have to find the footage for it. But since I've got the speakers and a Bluetooth amplifier, which can also run a sub, I'll show that a little bit later, I might as well use them. And I've already decided where and how I'm going to set these up. Though it is a little destructive. So it appears this has some sort of proprietary plug on the bottom, although that just looks like a CPU power plug. But I'll just take it out. I don't need that. I don't know what's stopping me from pulling this out further. But I'm starting to think it's the wires for the speaker. This little quick project just suddenly turned into a much larger one.
So I ended up having to unscrew 14 screws per speaker, run my own wire and wire it in, as well as cut a little wire hole for that wire.
The speakers aren't going to be perpendicular to the wall like that. I do want them angled slightly like that, just to help push the sound and ideally keep the sound here in the garage. But then I thought, what if I used one of these brackety things? Just slap it there, and then I can mount it on this angle here. And then, if I want, I can pull on it and angle it out like that. So it'll be angled more ideally. And then if I really want to get fancy, maybe I don't know, outside washing the car or something, I can keep it going and I can turn the speaker essentially all the way around. Sounds like a good idea to me. So I'm going to do that.
So I expertly eyed up the perfect position for this hinge to go. Then I took it over to the wall and again used my eyes to line it up into the perfect position I could. Following that, I had to run the cable all the way around the garage, going up and over the big door and down to the other side.
And that's the second speaker in place. Of course, I forgot to hit record while putting this one in, but it's the same both sides. Now, I have both wires leading up to here. And I'm going to run some temporary power, just an extension lead running over here so that I can power it up. You might be wondering, what about the bass? These things can't do bass, they do treble and mids only. Well, down here on the floor, I have a little 10-inch bass cannon. The amplifier in it broke a few years ago, and I sort of just kept it around because I guess I could, and I'm glad I did because this is going to be perfect for this application. It's a reasonable size. Now it's time to wire it all up. I'm going to be using this old laptop charger. It runs at 19 volts with 3.16 amps, which should be enough, at least for now. I can always chuck in a larger power supply. It can take between 12 and 24 volts, which is why I'm using this one, though I think I've got a 21 volt 6 amp power supply, which I would prefer to put on this so that I'm not limited on how much bass I can pump out. Well, let's position the speakers correctly. Alright, speakers are positioned correctly. There's a lot of bass in there, I'll need to turn that down.
Alright, there we go. With a little bit of tweaking, this already sounds a ton better. I had the sub only halfway up and it was scooting along. Okay, so it looks like having the sub on between 5 to 10% seems to be the best route. It gives the cleanest, clearest signal, and the system sounds fantastic. I'm very happy with it. Now let's just go outside for a second. I mean, it's not necessarily quiet when you're outside, but it's audibly noticeable that you're not in line with the speakers anymore. As you can see, this little amp is slightly modified. I've moved the main volume control out of it due to the last project I had on it. And for the left and right channels, I've taken away all bass so that they've only got mids and treble, because that's all these things are really designed for. I'll let the sub handle all of the bass, which it clearly seems to be able to do. I'm a little sick, but it's mail time. Here I have the 220mm fans that I ordered a couple of weeks ago when I was doing that network stuff. So I'm going to use one of these to be actually installed into the network switch. I'm going to drill a hole out, put this on top, and hopefully it'll be able to run nice and quietly. These are specifically low noise fans. I only have two because if I got two, shipping was free. Little Zigbee humidity sensor. It's really small. Uses one of those button cell batteries, I would assume. Not super easy to open. That's a bit of a chunky one, isn't it? CR2450. This one I'm actually a little excited about. It's my 8-bit do. Got a nice colour matched data cable. I believe it's got data, just USB 2.0, USB-C. Got the little dongle here, and like a Mario style thing, at least that's what I'd call this, like a Mario block wall, brick wall thing. Oh, look at that, it's even got power. Got a little thing covering the buttons. It needs to protect the joysticks. Let's see. Ooh. So it's got between Bluetooth or the 2.4 gigahertz dongle that it comes with, and of course you can plug it in to play it wired. Got a little sync button there. Got our L4 and R4 buttons there, which is great. Got our plus, minus, star, and square, like any controller has, right? If you can shake it, it sounds a little like a maraca, but if you've just put your thumb in between these to stop these buttons from rattling, and you put your finger on the R4 and RB to stop them from rattling, you don't get any of that rattle. So that's great. And it's a nice weight. This was really highly rated from a bunch of YouTubers. So I thought I'd have a quick jam on Rocket League, just to see how it feels, as well as a little play on Dirt. Now I'm really liking using this controller, but admittedly the little raised bits... Admittedly, the little raised bits in the analog sticks are a little annoying. I kind of expect these to be indented rather than sticking out like they do. It does make it a little weird, and it means that my finger is a lot more likely to slip when using the controls. I can feel my thumb slipping around, so I'm definitely going to have to get some thumb stick pads. I'm not a huge fan at the short travel distance for the triggers, but it is something that I have found I'm quickly getting used to. But in terms of feel, yeah, an Xbox controller does feel a little more comfortable because this part's a little more bulbous. That said, I would say that these are probably equally as uncomfortable. I wonder if I can get this stick cover on here. Oh yeah, yeah. Just putting that stick cover on there has already made it a lot better. Other than the fact that it is slipping and rotating. But it does actually feel a lot more comfortable to have this stick cover on rather than not having it on. All in all, I'm loving this controller. Adding these little stick covers on there, even if they were raised ones, just to give it a little extra travel time, that would be great. That'd make this controller super fantastic. During mail time, I received this Zigbee temperature and humidity sensor. I placed it in the living room next to my current one, which I am looking to replace. So as we can see, these two devices seem to pretty much agree what the temperature and humidity are in a room. They're off by a little bit, but we're not looking for an exact science. This overall is a very noisy Zigbee device. It is pumping out lots of measurements that are completely unnecessary. So I will be sticking with this nice little one. Okay, it's been about a week since I installed these speakers on here, and them being on an angle and all floppy like that is already really annoying me. I've been out here like twice, and I see it, and I'm like, I can do better. So I've gone and I've grabbed 2 more of these out of storage in the bottom of a box, and let's straighten things up a little bit. Yeah, having these 2 hinges on there, keeping the speaker up nice and straight. And I mean, I just eyed this up, but it looks pretty well straight, and it's doing pretty well. And it already pleases my brain in a way that I could almost pretend I have OCD, but I don't quite, because I probably would have measured it or something if I did. But this is pretty damn well straight. It's a slightly crooked, and hopefully that won't annoy me too much. But this is so much better. I feel like I can manhandle it a bit, you know, just really plug it out. It's actually holding on quite well. I'm actually not worried about it before. Before I was being gentle with it because it was so floppy and just not quite. Didn't feel like it was going to hold and stay in place. The other slight change I'm going to do, this sub is from that same kit that those speakers are from, and I know I've already got a 10-inch kicker in there, but I might as well add this 8-inch as well. So down here where the speaker is connected, it's just connected with this wire here, so I'll just use it in here and use that as sort of a mounting position almost. Alright, so now that one's just sitting there, the other sub is sitting nicely under there. Now for a quick sound check using the easiest song I can pick out. Mail time, and I basically know exactly what one thing in this package is, and that would be this package. It is a little Zigbee, Zigbee-based smart button switch scene selector thing. It's a button. It's a button that works on Zigbee, so you can trigger different scenes and stuff. So this will be connected to my Home Assistant server, and of course I got the black one because I feel like it would sits nicer, and it's 4 buttons. Easy peasy. Nice little product, and I believe it'll work. No reason it shouldn't. It's a very simple thing. It's a package in a package, which was in a package. Hey, this is a wireless HDMI, so I'll be testing that soon. Once there's PC, once there's TV, but it does also say transmitter and receiver. This is rated for about 30 meters in a house with thin walls or 50 meters line of sight. So I'll be interested to see what it's like. It boasted a latency of 0.1 or less milliseconds, which is absolutely ridiculous. There is some industry standard broadcast equipment that can't even boast numbers like that. So we'll see around about what kind of latency it has, I guess. If it even works. You know, if the latency is obviously massive, then I'm not going to take too much time to test and see exactly what it is.